by Verbringen of the Rebbe Nishmas Eden. So it's in the back of Teira Shalom, there's a suffix there, right? So Teira Shalom is Verbringens of the Rebbe Nishmas Eden, where we have Hanoches, either of the Friedrich Rebbe or others that are Muge on some level. But then in the back, there are other Hanoches that for whatever reason weren't around. They didn't go into the original Teira Shalom, and they were added later in later versions. And then there's more Hanoches that I guess are even less Musmech. But the Rebbe was Mekabel them all and put them in, so the Rebbe gave a stempel on it. So there's a Yutas Kislev Verbringen there, where by the Verbringen, so this is a very Yisraelistic Verbringen, where the Rebbe Nishmas speaks about the Inyan of what's Chassidus Chabad. Chassidus Chabad is that Koiches Ativim Nasim Koiches Elikim. Right, the Rebbe brings this in Kondition Teres Chassidus and other places, and the Havana is that when we understand the likus through our koiches, then our koiches hanefesh become a tzinner, they become a kli for asagas halikos. And that's the meaning of Afshata. He explains Baruch is the difference between Chassidus and Kabbalah. That Kabbalah is halbasha, and Chassidus is Afshata. Kabbalah machtvan alikusamensh, and Chassidus machtvan mensh alikus. Meaning, if in Kabbalah the Inyan was to take spiritual ideas and ground them, or even humanize them, or to give them oisius that connect to the human experience, by us it's farker. The Nikud of Chassidus is that in a way, Chassidus will speak more about the human condition, but the whole Havana is that from there gain tifer and tifer and tifer and find the Nikud Sa'atzmos and find the Inyan Aliki that exists in the Koiches, and from there extrapolate how things are Lamaila. Find in the average this Inyan exists a lot. Anyway, so by this Verbringen, so as the Rebbe Nishmas Eden is saying this, so Gerenim mentioned by the Verbringen that he heard from Avremke Zebiner, which was his mashpia. Famous Maisa with Gerenim. It was Gerenim that was he was a watchman in the fields over there. And gewollt Ernie Chassidus, and he went to Avremke Zebiner, and he was mamish in ganzen Makabel Pnimi of his merdike meises about it. Anyway, so he was so Greiner was the Makabel from Avremke, which heard from Zalman Kurnitzer, and the times the Alter Rebbe, that by the Alter Rebbe, so Zalman Kurnitzer, so it would be Tiveya from the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe should say Chassidus on Yitzchayim. But you're on Yitzchayim, and Take, you have Mamori and Lohavin, Mashkosav Yitzchayim, right? So he wanted more Chassidus on Yitzchayim. So, one of the times that he asked Alter Rebbe for Chassidus on Yitzchayim, is Alter Rebbe gesagt, dass bedvekos. Zalman kemont bei mir Chassidus auf Yitzchayim, was red Yitzchayim ist Talschlos. Und ich, Baruch Hashem, red Hecher und noch Hecher. Like, you're looking for Chassidus on Yitzchayim? Yitzchayim is Talschlos, Kabbalah. But in Chassidus, mir red Nasach Hecher than Talschlos. Or why are you magbil? You're all excited, you're Chassidus on Yitzchayim, mir red Nasach Hecher, Hecher und noch Hecher. Fine, so this was the Lashon that Avraham Kezebiner heard from Zalman Kurnitzer that Alter Rebbe said. So Amar Avraham says, what's the pshat Alter Rebbe said, Hecher or noch Hecher? Right? What's Hecher, noch Hecher, than Ishtalshlos? What are we talking about? So Avraham Kezebiner said, the kavanah is Das Tachten, Das Elyon, and Kel Deis Havai. That's the Hecher or noch Hecher. Then Ishtalshlos. Das Tachten, Das Elyon, and Kel Deis Havai. So the lashon here is a bit cryptic, but it seems that the Rebbe Nishmas Eden agreed and said that he also heard similarly from his father. I mean, it's from the Rebbe Marash. But I don't know if he heard from the Rebbe Marash this story what the Alter Rebbe answered. Also, he heard this hasbara that Hecher and Noch Hecher is Das Nacht and Das Elyon and Kel Deis Havai. But he was Mekabel the Vart, and then he said that as the Rebbe whenever the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe would start saying Chassidus, so he would start the Maamer like this. He would say, Kabbalah is Shemus and Giluyim, and Chassidus is Megillah v'Nisbach in Atzmus. And that's what the Alter Rebbe would start a Maamer. It's not just that this time that they asked him to say a Maamer on Yitzchayim, and he said, Hecher noch Hecher. When he would start Dach, when he would start Chassidus, he would say, Kabbalah is Shemus and Giluyim. In other places in Teir Shalom, the Rebbe Shah brings in the name of, that Tzemach Tzedek, Hoyamargle v'Pumei. That Tzemach Tzedek said this often, that when the Alter Rebbe would start Chassidus, he would start with that Akdam. Right, and this is the Kudetz, is part of the Teichen of this Sikha here, that Kabbalah is mudbal in shtalshlos, and chassidus geht asach tifra asach hecher. So there's very little hasbara here, and l'chera, what's the pshat? The das tachtein and das elyin, kildei savaya are the hecher and noch hecher than shtalshlos. You'll say das tachtein is hecher and this is noch hecher. L'chera, das tachtein is the shtalshlos. So I'm not sure what that is bara there, but l'chera, according to our mamarim, well, the yeshlevar, that's the vart over here. That mitzad, as we learned, that das tachtein das elyin, shtei desim emes, what pshat shtei desim emes, mitzad eirin soif der emes. So kum dois, a side das tachtein, side das elyin, are hecher and seder shtalshlos. Even if das tachtein is in Slavish and seder shtalshlos, but the nekuda, the havan of kel deis avaya, is as the zelbe ebishter at 2 days because it's the same in the eirin soif. Fine. Maamer Musgar, l'chera zikum teis. Fine. When we get to our Maamer, so now the beginning of the Maamer, the first chelik of the Maamer, about half of the Maamer is when we get to Chachma and Bina. The Eilam finished the Chachma and Bina. Is deep into the Chachma and Bina. Verstanden Chachma and Bina. Where are we holding? The Eilam is still in the middle of Basach Leo. The Eilam is what? The Eilam read the Chachma and Bina. Ah? Maxim Eilam. Tarsim Eilam. Fine. So what's happening here in the Maamer is the Baruch Sheasa Nissim laviseinu b'yomim is manazeh. Laviseinu is chachma bina. Nissim is harama. Right. So we're magbia chachma and bina. And the shaila is mela we're magbia bina. But why have to be magbia chachma? That's basically the sikkum of the first 6 sifim, and then the nekudas hasbar the even chachma we're magbia. As we spoke about last time. Now, in order to get to that point, so we have to understand the way Chachma and Bina interact and the different forms of interaction. So throughout the first sifim, so he brings when you get to Chachma. So Chachma, there's Re'iyah de Chachma, Anacha de Chachma, and Seichel. He brings Seichel de Chachma, yeah? Sichli. And then Bina, we have Chitzonius Bina and Pnimius Bina. Now, Chachma and Bina, there's a Yichud Pnimi and Yichud Chitzoni. Chachma and Bina is very interesting, because Chachma and Bina, when we use language of Midas, which doesn't l'chera fit in Moichim, but bring out this Indian, right? Chachma and Bina have a love-hate relationship. Right? On the one hand, we say about Chachma and Bina that there's no Chachma without Bina, and there's no Bina without Chachma. Right? Meaning we can't imagine such a reality, right? Bina without Chachma. Bina is the development of an idea. Every development has a start. You're developing something. There's a yesh meyes. Something's evolving from an earlier metzias. So Bina means that there's a kernel of an idea that's here, which is Chachma. Chachma cannot exist without Bina. What does it mean it can't exist? I could have a nekudas chachma, right? You have people that are very creative, have come up with great ideas, and no bina. Yeah, but then what happens? Chachma without bina, chachma disappears. So chachma maybe the etzim nekudah that chachma can exist. There could be a nekudas chachma maybe, but there's no kiyum without bina. So chachma needs bina. There's a codependency. Chachma needs bina, and bina is even deeper. Bina, we can't even imagine a reality where bina exists without chachma. And yet, while Chachma and Bina are so enmeshed, and each one is totally in the other one and needs the other one, they can't coexist. Right? They're codependent without coexistence, meaning they need each other, but they can't exist with each other. The Artim Chachma is Bina can't be there, and wherever Bina is, Chachma can't be there. Yes, it's an interesting kind of friendship. It's an interesting kind of relationship. I need you, but I can't stand being in the same room with you. Yeah, it's a zasug inyan, right? So, what's the word now? Why? So he explains that chachma is ayin, bina is yesh. So there's a few inyanim in the ayin and yesh of chachma and bina. That's a word that chachma is the sense of bittul, whereas bina there's more a sense of yesh. We spoke about this a bit last time. But then it's also ayin v'yesh in their relationship. Right? This is the way he says in the beginning of the second keta of Sif Beis, Sif Gimel, that that this we say das tachten l'mayla ayin l'mata yesh is also going to get to the hamshachah from chachma to bina, meaning the relationship between chachma and bina is predicated on ayin v'yesh relationship, right? That's the way we understand it. Meaning, where's the ayin v'yesh in the relationship? It's ayin to bina, right? That bina, in order for the yeshus of bina to be here, for the existence of bina to be here, chachma has to enter a state of ayin. Bina cannot acknowledge chachma's existence, cannot understand chachma. Whereas he says there's two parts to this. There's the fact that bina doesn't fully grasp what's in chachma. Then also chachma is nis'ale mehayesh, right? That he brings in the Chatzoy Ribua. Bina, the development of an idea that exists in Bina will only come after the initial flash of inspiration. I have that, right? That I have a new idea inspired by something new, and then I can come and develop the idea. But here's the thing: that the way I perceive, the way I understand this idea, as it's in the world of Chachma, Bina can't touch that. Bina has no shaykhus. We'll get into that a bit more in a moment. But Bina cannot access that. It will never fully understand it that way, because the whole style, the way Bina understands things and makes sense out of things, is very different than the way Chachma understands things. So they might be talking about the same idea, the same gedank, but they're talking on two different wavelengths, two different sprachs. So that's mitzad the Bina, mitzad Bina's side. Bina will never access Chachma on its terms, on Chachma's terms. But Chachma is not just a victim here, right? Chachma is also a player here. Chachma is also acting as an ayin. Chachma is nis'alim from Bina. As when Chachma sees Bina coming, Chachma runs away. Right? It's not like Chachma is doing his thing, and then when Bina comes, Bina's like, okay, I don't get you. When Chachma enters the world of Bina, Chachma shuts down. Right? Also from Chachma's tzad.
It's like an active eye. It's an active eye, not a
right, it's an active eye. Right, now, Lefi Zeh, this will give some asbara also to something that we've discussed, multiple Shiurim, and Chevra asked, and Paschalio as well, and Baruch Sheasa Nissim. Right, there's yesh, ayin, yesh, right? There's two yesh, and there's two ayins in the middle. And when we say das tachtin is not only the way we perceive things, but das tachtin is also kel deis havaya, the way the Eibishter sees it. Right? So there's the way there's the deya of the yesh amiti and the ayin of the yesh amiti, and then there's the deya nalikus of the ayin of the yesh nivra, which is the koyach eliki that goes into the nivroim, and then the nivroim. But now, for that's the shaila meile, if we're talking about das tachtin from our perspective as nivroim, so okay, we're the yesh and he's ayin because we don't fully understand, we don't grasp it. But if we're saying kel deis havaya that das tachtin exists in elikus as well, so where does das tachtin exist in elikus? On what level? On the ayin of the yesh nivra, right? The koyach eliki that goes into the nivroim. So why does he call himself ayin? He doesn't get himself. He doesn't understand himself. Like, what's this supposed to mean? Ayin she'eni musar, ayin she'eni davar. He's not a mitzias. He himself doesn't see himself as a mitzias. He sees us as a mitzias, but not himself as a mitzias. Right? So with Pashas, you have to come and say that because the toichin of this koyach eliki, because this energy, its whole focus is on the nivra. He's here for the nivra. So he himself, Kiviyachol says, why am I here? I'm here for you, for the nivra. And because the nivra doesn't understand me, can sich nicht anhalten, doesn't have a sog in this darga of elikus. So this darga gufe guckt auf sich wie ein ayin, right? Because the yesh sees me as an ayin, so therefore I see myself as an ayin. But saf, what does that mean, right? He's not an ayin at all. He's very, very conscious of his mitzias, and he has a mission. He knows what he's here for. He's here to give chayis to the ilmas. He's not a mitzias. How can you say that? But now that I say this vard, that the ayin is considered ayin b'yachas to the yesh, is not only mitzad the yesh's reality, that the yesh doesn't grasp the ayin, but that the ayin consciously makes himself ayin b'yachas to the yesh. He's misalim from the yesh. So it's a sach klarer why he also identifies as ayin, because he actually does an act of ayin. He is misalim, right? It's not just that I'm here and and the one I'm trying to be mashpia on doesn't understand me, so therefore I understand that he sees me as ayin to ayin. No. The mashpia does an act of ayin, does an act of isalmos, in order that the yesh shouldn't be toivis and gans. Now, so how does this actually play out? So it plays out like this. So it's in the Mashal Chachma and Bina, so Chachma has great inspiration. But now, after usually Chassidus calls it the Baruch HaMavrik, you have that spark of inspiration. But now I want to ground it, right, and give it oisius, and to make a logical sequence out of this, and build up a whole binyan here. So there I take the Nekud of Chachma, I bring it into Bina. So l'chayra, it's all an inyan of kamos. Chachma is a klal. Chachma is the kernel of the idea, to Nekudah, and then you bring it to kav, shetach, right? And then you develop the idea. Bina seems to just be the prat of the klal. So klal uprat, and the ein klal ala mashav prat, ein prat ala mashav b'klal. Sachakol, there's the idea and the development of the idea. But that's when Nekudah says here that I look at Chachma as the klal, as just a small idea that I then develop in the world of Bina. That's not really what Chachma is all about. That's the chitzoinis. The chitzoinis of the lower level. Right? You saw the three inyanim he speaks about in Chachma, yeah? So how are these three inyanim? There's three levels in Chachma? How do you understand it?
Three, yeah.
There's three levels or two levels? Are there two levels in Chachma or three levels in Chachma?
Three.
Anyone say two? Might as well someone argue. Huh?
Two sides.
There's two sides. There's three in there's two inyanim and what? There's three inyanim and two sides, or two inyanim. What are you trying to say?
There's two general in the same and then there's
right. So when there's re'iyah, and re'iyah is a completely different kind of perception, right? It's not something that necessarily we experience in day to day, and we have access to it. But in general, you have people that by them they have the element of re'iyah, the chachma, a lot stronger. Right? You guys open the Maamer Ayin Beis, the Maamer Ayin Beis, Dvarim Ayin Beis. Very gishmak. At least the first two sifim there, very very gishmak. Gives a lot of reichel isiyas there. It will help you a lot to understand what's going on in chachma and bina, the different levels here. So re'iyah, the chachma, right? You have people that they see things. We're not going to get into prod. You might call them neviim, but it's not. The idea is not nevuah here. The nekudah is a certain clarkite. It's like so clear to me, right? I see this idea. They could almost picture the idea, right? It's we call it seichel, but it's like mamish afin gvul. It's like Ari Asfar. You know, we even talk about this as it being on the precipice. You know, it's right between chachma and keser. It's seichel, but it's not seichel. Very, very deep level of perception. People that just see ideas. Right? But then, for most of us, most of the time, what we're talking about in Chachma is, right, a spark. Where you're thinking about something, you're learning a sugya, you're talking something over, and you get stuck. You can't figure it out. Right? Then all of a sudden, as you're learning, or a day later, a week later, a month later, a discussion you had at a certain time, you didn't get it, and all of a sudden it hits you. Now what hits you? The moment it hits you, there's just this spark, right? Baruch, this spark that hits you. Now you have to take this spark and develop it. So he says like this. This spark, there's the chitzoinius of it, and there's the pnimius of it, right? There's no two dargas here. There's not two layers in chachma. Sometimes I have anacha, and sometimes I have, what's it called? The seichel shemikras haskala. There's one nekudah, it's not two nekudas. There's a nekudas haskala that we have, that spark, and it has the chitzoinius and the pnimius. The chitzoinius is sort of, if you're looking at it as an outsider, it's a reporter, it's like, what do you see here, right? How are you going to define this? Well, you define this is, the guy looks saying, oh, I don't right? And he'll give a couple of oisias to it, right? Which is some oisias in the world of seichel. It's not developed, it's not bina, but it's oisias of seichel. But those oisias of seichel are not the real story. It's not really what's going on here. What got you excited, what gave you that feeling, that moment of like, wow, right? That wow factor doesn't come from the two words that you found, because there's nothing in those two words. Maybe you'll come to Bina, you'll have a developed idea. Here, the words aren't anything. What is there? There's the hanach. What lies behind those words, what lies behind that chap is, right? When a guy says, I got it. What's that? I got it. Right? Chassidus calls it the hanacha, the upleg. I got it. It's like, oh, this makes sense to me. I'm comfortable with the idea. I was struggling with an idea. Right? One of the biggest pains that a person can have is when you just don't get something. You're really working, trying to figure something out. It's very important to you to know this. It's negay for you in life. It's negay for you because you're very, very involved in the Maamer. You're trying to understand the nekudah, and you're talking it over to Chavrus, the Maggid Shiur, and others, and you're going out, and you just don't get it. And you know there's something there, but you just don't get it. And then all of a sudden there's a moment, oh, I got it. So that I got it that's the hanacha. Certain pshittas, right? Which is it intellectual that upleg? Not usually, not the way we usually relate to intellect, because intellect we usually relate to as logic, but it's what lies behind it. It's that sense of I'm comfortable with this.
So what integrates with bina? The chitzenius?
What?
What integrates with bina? The chitzenius element?
Oh, wait a second. Right. So now, right, there's a lashon in Chassidus, in Kabbalah. Chassidus speaks about it a lot. The pnimius Abba, pnimius Atik. Right, that the pnimius of Abba is Chachma, is what? Is pnimius Atik. So Atik b'chlal, like where does Atik niskal? There's many different, it's pnimius Atik, then it says, Miskalis Atik hu bebina, and then there's Zab Atika Achid Vitalia, right? So where exactly is Atik being revealed? This is many Maamer Chassidus, how here it's pnimius Abba is pnimius Atik, and here it's Bina, what's the lashon? Iskalos of Atik is in Bina, and then the Atika Achid Vitalia, the Achdos and Toli, different Lashonim, so each one has its in. What's Tainug? What's Atik in the Mashal? Tainug, right? So you say it like this. So there's different Biyurim, what's Pnimius Abba, Pnimius Atik. One of the Biyurim Chassidus gives is like this. That when you dig down into the Pnimius of Abba and the Pnimius of Seichel, what is Seichel at its core? Chachma at its core. What really is Chachma? Atik. Because I go for Pnimius Atik. We even call it Atik. What's Atik? Atik is Tainug. What really Chachma is I'm comfortable with this. Nichalei. Right? Because you hear an idea and it just doesn't make sense to you. You hear it again, and you're frustrated. And then all of a sudden, someone gives you a vart, someone tells you a nekuda has vart, all of a sudden, Now, someone will say, oh, what did he just say? I don't know. But you do know, at that moment, that pain, that sense of confusion and turmoil disappears. Right? It sounds a bit emotional. But the word is, it's an nekuda of tainug. It's an nekuda of, so ugly by me. So that's the hanach. It's a hanach. It's a pshittis. It's like, it's good. Now, okay, I have the nekuda, but now I have to develop it. Especially, I leave my little chicken coop. Yeah, and I go out, and now I have to talk to other people. Someone said, and now my chavros says, like, okay, I see you're all excited. What do you get? And I tell them, no, this is the word. What the word? No. You're trying you're trying to say something from Chachmid. You're trying to say it's a halva vart. Give over that spark, not shaya. You're trying to give over oyer. That's not what you're saying. So what do you do now? Now you have to bring it into bina and put it into kalim. Right? I'm using the muscle of giving it over to somebody else because it's a lot more. The idea is a lot more developed then. But that's it happens in ourselves as well. We have it in chachma, which is great, but then it's more a nekudah. But then I want to actually fully get it and appreciate it, and also. It's like, okay, one second. I came to this issue because what brings me to the Nekudah of Chachma? When does the Baruch HaMavrik come? When do I come to that inspiration? Me'ayin, right? When I reach a place of ayin, when I reach a place that I'm stumped. Why am I stumped? I'm learning the sugya. Question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. I try to entire it this way, that way, the gate. I try a million different ways, and I just can't move on. And then I'm like, okay, I'm stumped. Right? In Chassidus, you have what's called the Ishtoimus. I reach a state that I'm lost. That Ishtoimus is a very important stage in order to reach to the Gili of Chachma, right? Because as long as you're coming in your kalim, you can't get it. Reb Zera fasted, all the Tanesim, they have to fast in order to forget Talmud Bali, preach Talmud Yerushalmi, right? Leave your kalim in order, and then you're able to accept something that's way beyond you, beyond your kalim. Okay, but now I want to bring this into my kalim, and I want to answer all those questions that I had. Now, when I tried to answer all those questions that I had, you have this very often, you see this in Rashi Sichos, like 10, 15 questions, and then a nekuda. You hear the nekuda, right? The nekuda, when it says in the Sichos, it's in one sif or even one ket, like, gewaldig. And at that moment, it's like, wow. I see everything change. But one second. But there were 15 questions. I have to, and I'll stop the sikha right here. I won't be able to figure out how to answer. I know, I already feel and sense that there's something here that changes everything, but I have to actually develop it and figure and unpack it and see how it answers all these issues. Now, when you want to unpack it, here, the Maila of Chachma, the Pnimis of Chachma I had a moment ago, now gets in the way. Now I have to put that on the side. Yeah? Why? Because what's really Chachma all about? It's the Hanacha, right? The upleg. As long as you're coming with that upleg, we're like, it's Geshmak. It's good. This makes sense to me. Bina hears that. Bina runs for the hills. Because Bina is Bina is logical. Logical is not enough of the right word, right? How does Bina function? Bina takes apart ideas, right, and it's building blocks. It's 2 + 2 = 4. This answer, this Nakuda answers this question. This question leads to the next answer, right? Everything is very, very cold. So Bina hears inspiration. What are you talking about inspiration? Was sagst du? What's the Nakuda? Give me klare oisius. So here, Bina doesn't hear the Hanacha of Chachma. The only thing Bina can access is the Chitzoinius of the Haskalah of Chachma, which is the Seichel Shem Nekudas Haskalah. The Seichel Shem Nekudas Haskalah is, right, you'll see the guy the moment that he chaps the idea, that he has that wow, I got it. It's like, what did you get? Those few words that he has, those are those words. No, he sees the also he sees machshava. That nekuda, that kernel of the idea, can then be processed in bina and be developed. But the hanacha doesn't work over here. So now we're saying it's not only that bina doesn't want the hanacha. Chachma is nis'alim from the bina. Right? In order for bina to exist, in order for bina to come to the person, chachma has to put himself on the side. Right? So let's say right now the person is in a state of chachma. Bina's not here yet. Like we said, Bina needs Chachma, but as long as Chachma is here and is fully present, Bina won't be able to show up. So as long as a person is in that state of excitement, or excitement is not fully the right term because it's more of an Eirus, but the Nekuda of that Geshmak, Bina won't be able to come here. But Chachma wants Bina because he knows without Bina, I won't have a kiyum. Right? The greatest idea in the world, but if it's not able to be broken up and analyzed, then it won't last and it won't mean anything. So what Chachma then has to do is sort of disconnect its chitzoinius from its pnimius. That right now all I have is that spark that of the idea and not the hanacha behind it. And that can go into Bina. Once we have that, then Bina can exist. And then Bina comes, and then Bina takes that kernel of the idea, the nekudah, and develops it. And turns it into a davar hasholem, and with cold logic and analysis and breaking things down, right? The Chachma guy looks at Bina, but you can't understand. You're breaking, it's these shilas, right? The Chachma and Bina guy speak to each other, they don't understand each other's sprach. But their nekudah tzachibur is where you take away the hanacha and then go to Bina. So that's all. So that's the way it works. That's yichud chitzoini. That we say that there's yichud chuv always exists. In order for the worlds to exist, the world comes from the midas. The midas are born from av ve'em, chachma and bina. So chachma and bina are always together. But they're always together. And that's the regular way, just like the lamata. That's the way chachma and bina will always work together over here. But then, for Yichud Pnimi, that comes the Chiddush of Yichud Pnimi. Yichud Pnimi comes only through Avodah. And how does the Yichud Pnimi work? Yichud Pnimi says like this. In the second line, in the last ket of Siv Gimel, Pnimius bina meir gam etzem ha-chachma, v'yedei ze gam ha-bina hi b'vchinas da'as elyin. Chachma is da'as elyin, bina is da'as tachtin. Because here's Yesh. Bina is yesh. Chachma comes into Bina, only the chitzoynius of Chachma. And Das Elyon is only the pnimius of Chachma, the higher levels of Chachma. Hanoche and Alachas Kama Kama Re'iyah. But when there's a yichud pnimi, then the pnimius of Chachma goes into Bina, and Bina basically does access Das Elyon, and then Das Elyon enters the world of Das Tachta. Now, the Shaila, how can Bina exist on such a level? Where's there room for Bina? The moment there's pnimius Chachma, there's no logic in that space. So he says there's nachadar. Just like in Chachma, there's Re'iyah, and then there's the skull, and that skull there's the pnimius and the chitzenius. So Bina has the pnimius, and Bina has the chitzenius. Everything we were talking about till now is chitzenius of Bina, which is the regular Bina Granic chitzenius. But then there is pnimius of Bina. In the pnimius of Bina accesses pnimius of Chachma, and it's not a stira. It's able to appreciate that idea. How does that work? Anyone ever access pnimius Bina? Chitzonius Bina.
It's not, is he explaining the Maamer?
He just brings it in the Maamer. Yeah, he doesn't really bring any oisius. In the Aris, he brings in a few places that in Ara 10, that Das Elyon it goes into Bina, that's in Pnimius Bina, and where else he brings it? Another one of the Aris, etc. Okay, I'm not sure what to do. How do I start this without finishing it? Okay, there's a few nekudas here. I'll first bring one nekuda, more of a kitchen, and then maybe later or next year I'll send out a recording of the Oimeka Inyan. In Chassidus Retzich, that there's Chachma and Bina, but then there's Bina within Chachma and Chachma within Bina. And the lashon is Havein bechachma, bechacham, bechachem. Like Nikodir bebina. There's Bina in Chachma, and there's Chachma in Bina. So that's when the way we spoke about Bina within Chachma, these are the lower levels of Chachma over here. Then there's Chachma within Bina. Where do you have the Chachma within Bina? So this happens at the end of the process of Bina. Right? Chachma is a long process. There's different arguments in Chachma, and then we come to Bina. Okay, now in Bina starts the stage of analysis, where you really take an idea, you break it apart, you try to keep yourself as cold as possible, right? Like this passionate, and it's passionate not only because there's no midas here, there's no inspiration. The inspiration of Chachma isn't even here. And just develop, and I'm just going to take this apart like a clinician. You're taking this. I'm doing surgery. Okay, you did that surgery. You broke it apart. You took out all the pieces and you took the Humpty Dumpty and it's all back together. Now what? Now that you finished, now you come. Right, so you have what's right. So you have this in Maamer. You have a sikkum. Right? You have a sikkum. What's a sikkum? In the Rebbe's Maamer, we don't really have sikkumim. You have the Free Rebbe's Maamer, you have the Rebbe's Mosai's Maamer. You have a sikkum of the Sif or a sikkum of the Maamer. Now, right, so we have klal, uprat, uklal. There's the klal that comes before the prat, which is chachma. Then there's prat, and then there's the klal that's afterwards. So the klal that's afterwards, it's a very different klal Let's put it, the klal at the end. Is it more similar to the prat or more similar to the klal? By the klal in the beginning, you have the initial inspiration, the initial idea. Then you have the development of the idea. Then at the end, it's like, okay, and the kitzur and the nekudas inyan is kach v'kach. Right? What do you have with that nekudas inyan? What's going on there? It's a klal just like in the beginning. But in the beginning, it was in a place of higher than bina. Right now, you have all the pratim together. You take all these pratim, and you bring it together into one space, right? So you have the ichud of all these pratim together. It's not, in other words, if you call the first level yachin, this one is more echad. In other words, you're taking a bunch of details and bring the details together, and you come to what? And now it's like, and now you look into it like, oh. And then you go back and say, oh, that was the idea that I had. Right? Not just that this is the sikkum, it's not only a sikkum of the details of bina. It's, at this moment, you go back to your nekudas hachachma, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. But the that's what it is now is a very different it's a very different I got it than pre-bina. The I got it before the bina is, it wasn't moved by bina at all. I didn't know the details at all, right? I just had the nekuda of the answer. Without getting to pratim. Now I know all the pratim, but now I sort of detach myself from the pratim. I say, okay, what did I actually say here? What was the nekuda here? And with all these pratim, I come and say, oh, that's the nekuda. Now I got it. So now you have kiviyachol the maila, right? It's you have the maila of chachma. You go back to that nekuda, but within, and not to the exclusion of all the details. Right? That's what says more the chitzoynius, the chitzoynius of this primius bina. The primius yoiser, there's a nekuda of primius amoich and primius bina, where there's a nekuda of dveikos, but we'll leave that for if we'll get to it. Look up on, yeah? It made some sense. Yeah. See, you experience it. You realize that at the end, you do a sikkum, you back off, but you have it all. You have all the problems. It's still bina. But you're able to have the oyer that was always nis'ala from the from bina, that didn't allow bina to exist. Once you have all the problems, so bina's not scared anymore, right? So now bina is able to re-access that nekuda sachachma, see it within all the pratim. The nekuda be'echala, the nekuda of chachma within all the pratim of bina. L'chaim.
So is this chachma now? This is not the love-hate relationship we had before.
Kinire, after the love-hate.
Once bina is fully developed.
Once bina is fully in order like this, in order for each one to exist, you have to create space for each other. Okay. Once you fully access, you fill up the bucket of chitzonius bina, you have all the information that you need. Yeah, you have all the information that you need. Now you're able to transcend bina without leaving it behind.
So they could coexist.
They could coexist at the end of the story, or after chachma is fully developed, and then bina is fully developed, and then they were nisachid only boifim chitzoni. But now I'm able to zoom out and see the big picture again. But zoom out without forgetting the details. But within the details, I'm able to see the big picture, but not just the as kamos. I'm able to see the chayis, the oyer within it. Right, so you finish the Maamer, Geharvitz the Maamer, you figure out all the problem of the Maamer, and now you can again zoom out and see what the Maamer actually saying. What's the message of the Maamer? The message of the Maamer is chachma, it's not bina.